Hello, my name is Jeff McLaughlin from Kingsmere Finance Directors. My business provides other businesses with the opportunity to have a finance director resource, either on an ongoing part-time basis or to deal with specific projects or problems. So where is the business community in this current situation? I think if ever there's been a time of hoping for the best and preparing for the worst, this is it. Many people might have already heard me say that we've had the earthquake, but that the tsunami's still to follow. And I think in the months to come, many businesses are going to have to really look carefully at how they are prepared to face the situations ahead. A number of businesses have had the benefit of bounce back or CBILS loans, grants and that sort of thing, and to a certain extent might even be feeling a little bit complacent about their cash position, but that will almost inevitably change. In October or January, there'll be tax to pay on profits in a healthy year. In March, a deferred VAT payment will become necessary. We'll have situations where the bounce backs and CBILS have to start being repaid by businesses that didn't really want to take on additional finance at that time. They may have problems with their customers not being viable. Certainly their supply chains could be interrupted. And so there are a whole host of potential problems which need to be addressed in the short term rather than waiting until next year. There are a number of steps that businesses need to take to protect themselves, but by far and away the most important is to have a cash flow forecast which lays out as clearly as possible the way forward. I've seen recommended that businesses must have a 13-week forecast, but I'm afraid in this environment, I think that's completely inadequate. 13 weeks, if you've had CBILS or bounce backs, you're probably still in reasonably healthy position. It's what's going to happen after that. And you need to be able to look forward at least 12 months and keep that forecast updated. We don't know how the lockdown is going to emerge, whether business will pick up quickly or whether it'll be a long, painful process. So the cash flow needs to be able to show you when you will run out of money and what steps you can take to prevent that. Linked very closely to the cash forecast is the need for a business forecast to project how well or badly the business is likely to do in the coming months. And to that extent, it needs to be capable of very easy modification. It has to be flexible, but it has to link to the cash forecast so that the owners or the managers of the business get a very clear idea as to the ramifications of the policies and the decisions that they make. The directors and managers of business need to carry out a root and branch review of the business, looking at every aspect of it, from staffing levels to orders, overheads. Have they done everything they can to minimize costs? Have they done everything to collect money from their customers? Have they got alternatives in the supply chain, given the likelihood of businesses folding in the next 12 months? Is there anything they can do to improve their terms of supply with customers? Can they shorten the terms of trade? Alternatively, can they give discounts to get the cash in more quickly? Another thing to give real serious consideration to is credit insurance. The last thing you need at the moment is one of your big customers to go bump with no protection against that. And there are schemes being introduced which will enable almost every business to take advantage of that. And it's something that they should look at as a matter of urgency. Also, within the field of insurance, there is a need to have a complete review of policies. And to that extent, I would suggest trying where possible to use a broker rather than online sources. These give very cheap quotes, but the level of protection that you get can leave gaps, and that's something that you can't afford at this particular point in time. Once that review is carried out, you should really concentrate on communication. More than ever, you need to be talking. Talk to the staff, make sure that your key people are happy. Talk to the stakeholders within the business, particularly your bankers. If you're able to have a relationship with a manager or a director, it's essential that they know what you're doing, how you're doing it, and where their help might be required. You may well need the help of your accountants to produce the information that we've already discussed, you need to make sure that your accountants are commercially astute and can understand the ramifications of what they're doing. Many firms are good at this, but there are some who don't have the level of experience which would enable them to produce meaningful work. So you really need to check very carefully whether you fall into this category or not. Another area, I suppose, comes under the heading of not being an ostrich. Prepare for the worst, and the worst might be that you can't survive, or that you might be finding it very difficult. Go and talk to an insolvency practitioner. I realize that that sounds like the end of the world, but it's not. There are several IPs locally, and I'm sure many more nationally, who do not want to put businesses under, who are only too happy to help them recover from the situation that they find themselves in. It's a bit like having a real nasty pain in your body. You're a bit frightened of what it might be, so you don't go to the doctor. By the time you do, it's developed into something that's untreatable. Go sooner rather than later to find out what your options are, particularly given the latest legislation, which is about to be approved by Parliament. It gives more flexibility to deal with creditors in difficult situations, so don't miss that opportunity. The other people you should be talking to are your landlords, the local authority, HMRC, all of whom have at the moment a vested interest to help you survive. HMRC are introducing tougher controls, which are going to be inevitable if you're asking for time to pay. The days of just picking up the phone and asking for it are coming to an end, and you're going to have to produce a rounded solution, a well thought out solution, if you want their ongoing help. But that help will be available if you do the work properly. To summarize, there are difficult times ahead, but to survive, you need to get ahead of the pack. Don't wait to be one of the thousands of businesses that are going to the banks, to the revenue next March or April. Get your ducks in a row, with apologies for using that awful phrase, and be ready. If you can go to the bank with a coherent story about why your business is viable, that it just needs some support over the next 12, 18, 24 months, then you're likely to get it. If you wait till you're one of many thousands, the chances are that you'll just be trampled under the crush. I hope you'll have found this session useful. There's more information on my website if you'd like to inquire further, and I'm more than happy to have a one-to-one with anybody who would like to take up any particular specific issue arising out of this.